Hey guys, Charlie Murphy here. Thank you for choosing my video. Today I'm playing another session of 2-5 No Limit 6 Max games on Ignition. Lower left-hand table, get a 3x open for middle position. The button calls. I'm going to go ahead and squeeze from the small blind with ace-4 suited. Going to squeeze about an 8% range here in this formation. The initial razor folds, but the button comes along and calls. I get a low disconnected dry board, 7-4 deuce rainbow. Going to go ahead and put in a small range bet here. Could have some middling pairs that continue. Could have a set of sevens. Let me see here. Trying to figure out if this hand plays better as a bet or a check. I do have plenty of overpairs, a lot of which want to keep betting. I do have ace-5 as well for the nuts. This board is really not all that bad for me. I'm going to go ahead and put this one to the check line. I'm not sure if there's any real merit in barreling. I don't ever fold out sets, of course. I don't really fold out pocket fives, pocket sixes, pocket eights. I don't really know that I really ever fold much better, so I think I'd rather go ahead and put it into the check line instead. I can at least check call one street here. Can actually consider bluff catching as well on that board that ran out real low. Especially with me blocking the sets in ace-5. Maybe not necessarily. Well, that low board staying low is the real thing that makes me think I've got to call this down, plus with pretty decent removal. A set of sevens. Upper left-hand table, we had a limp pot that checked around on the flop. I'm going to go ahead and start stabbing at this turn since nobody else seemed to want it. Following through on the river for the most part if I get a call here. Lower right-hand table, open ace-deuce suited under the gun using an 18% range. Upper right-hand table, heads up on the river. I've got 8 high. I'm going to continue with the bluff. Let me peel the king for top pair. Upper left-hand table, I'll open ace-king from middle position using a 21% range. Lower right-hand table, the big blind comes along at an ace-5-3 two-tone board. I'm going to go ahead and range bet small. Upper right-hand table, going to open blind on blind with 7-5 suited using a 45% range. In the lower right-hand table, I got check called, and turn is the jack of spades, putting the backdoor flush draw out there, which I have. I think I want to be betting and checking some of my spade draws. And a weak ace is a good candidate to check back. So go ahead and check that one back and plan to play the river. Upper right-hand table, blind on blind, I face a little bit less than 3x open here, and with my 5-7 suited. Let's see, lower right-hand table, go ahead and put my value bet in right now with my ace. He quickly folds. Can defend. Oh, this guy's short stack, so no, I actually can't. I'll just go ahead and fold it. And against the in position 3-bet, I'm just going to go ahead and 4-bet my ace-king. Going to 4-bet queens plus ace-king to call off, and ace-queen offsuit just to have some bluffing combos in there. Lower left-hand table, I'll open 5s in middle position using an 18% range. Lower right-hand table, there's a 2.2x open from the cutoff. And then there's also a call behind from the weak player. I'll come along for call collision the action from my big blind. I'll check range on that ace-jack-8 rainbow flop to the in-position player that was the pre-flop aggressor. Pocket 5s, you get called in position and from the big blind as well. I'll be checking range sandwich between those two players on that Jack-10-9 two-tone board. Flop checks around. Get let into, even though it's a small size, I'll just go ahead and fold. Not try to put any play on somebody multi-way there with no real equity or removal to speak of. This player, probably a weak player, playing short stacked. Calling raises. Lower left-hand table, blind on blind, get a limp. I will check in with my 7-6. A little too weak to be raising. Ace, Queen, 7, two-tone board. He min-bets. I will call with my third pair. Good turn for me, giving me bottom 2 pair. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bet that one. I'm just going to figure out which size I want to use. I think I just want to use a half pot, or maybe even a smaller third pot in that float line. Lower left-hand table, going to open Queen 10 from the button using a 44% range. Button comes along and calls and checks to me in the 7-3 deuce rainbow board, so I'll go ahead and range bet small. He quickly calls. Turn is the 10. I think I want to be overbet or check on this particular board, and Queen 10 is going to be strong enough to put in that overbet line for value, so I'm going to go ahead and put in an overbet here. Mostly betting for value on the river if he calls as well, although probably not overbetting the river. The ace, I think I can check back. You know, 4-5 could get there. Could have some kind of weird aces up. I don't think he's going to be as likely to call me down in this triple offline with the hand like pocket 8s, you know, 7-8 type thing. I think I'll take my check back here. Lower right-hand table, open Queen Jack suited from middle position using the 21% range. I get 3-bet in position. Pretty sure I'm just going to go ahead and fold this. Upper left-hand table, get a min raise from the cutoff from a suspected fish or recreational player. Will defend my big blind with ace-6 offsuit. A check fold the flop with without too much going for me there on that king 10-9 board. Upper left-hand table, I'll open Jack 10 suited on the button using a 44% range. Suspected recreational player comes along, checks to me on the ace-king-9 monotone board. I will range bet him small. Turn is the king, board pairing card. On this particular board, I think I want to be continuing to bet flushes, my full houses, my good kings. Some ace-x could go either way. I think I'd mostly bet them without the heart and check back ones with hearts that can call rivers. So here, Jack 10 with this gut shot with no real, no flush draw or flush draw blocker. I think I'll just check it back, look to play the river. Would continue barreling my Jack 10 that had hearts and check back without. Recreational player goes and leads the river small and weak. I'm not going to let him just get away with that completely unchecked. I'm going to go ahead and put in a bluff raise in this spot. I could legitimately have hands like kings, quad kings, kings full of aces sort of thing. Kings full of nines. Maybe even check back some flushes on the turn. And I get one through. For left-hand table, I'll open queen 6 suited from the cutoff using the 28% range. Recreational player comes along, this time from the small blind. We get a king jack 4 rainbow board. I will put in a small range bet. Continue barreling on 10s, checking back pretty much every other turn card with that particular combo. Shuffle this table out. Lower right-hand table, I'll open ace-jack from middle position using a 21% range. Upper right-hand table, blind on blind, and facing the 3x, I'll go ahead and re-raise with my 7-6 suited. 3-betting aggressively there, 17, 18%, including most of my suited connectors. Lower right-hand table, the recreational player calls and checks to me on the King 10-4 two-tone board. I'll go ahead and put in a small range bet. I do have a gut shot and an overcard to bail me out. Lower left-hand table, get a 2.5x open from the button. I'm in the big blind with ace-3 suited. I can 3-bet some wheel aces and call other ones. I think I'll put this one to the call line, but could go either way. We'll check range on the flop to the initial aggressor. He bets half pot on 10-9-3. I'll go ahead and check call with my bottom pair top kicker. And I don't think there's any merit in value betting or trying to turn this hand into a bluff. I think it plays much better in the check line. If he bets, I then have a decision if I want to check call or check raise as a bluff. Don't know how he doesn't try to steal some value at some point in that hand with pocket jacks. I'd probably try to get a river bet in there if I were him in that loose formation, but good to know that he didn't. Lower right-hand table had a recreational player limp the button. I attempted to isolate him out of the small blind with ace-10 offsuit. The big blind, however, popped me back over the top, so I'm just going to go ahead and lay that one down. Probably mostly jamming over that re-raise or folding, maybe mixing a few calls. Lower right-hand table, I'll open Jack 10 from the cutoff using the 28% range. Upper right-hand table, open ace-queen suited for middle position using the 21% range. And lower right-hand table can go ahead and range bet small on that ace-king 9 rainbow board after the big blind has checked to me. Big blind check calls, turn is the 3 of spades, putting a backdoor flush draw up there. I've got a gut shot. I'd like to check some of those and bet some of those, probably prioritizing those with the spade draw blocker into the bet line. So I'll go ahead and put this into the overbet line as opposed to the check back line. Upper right-hand table, got an ace-9-7 rainbow board. Going to go ahead and range bet small. Got a short stack player out there, so we're looking to just get this money in one way or another against that guy if we can. Check called me twice. I've got jack high. Just going to go ahead and follow through. This triple is probably not going to be immensely profitable here, but it is going to be a little bit better than checking back and surrendering my jack high. So I'll go ahead and bet like I'm faking a value bet here with about a 70% sized of 70% of pot river bet. Hey, and I got one through. I don't understand why I can really ever, not necessarily ever, but get enough bluffs through in that triple line where I overbet the turn, then bet the river a more standard size. I don't really understand what guys are calling the overbet with then folding on the river. It just doesn't make a ton of sense to me, but I do know that it's going on enough that I can get away with it. Blast for pot, multi-way. I think I'll just go ahead and fold that. A 2.5x open from the cutoff on the lower left-hand table. I'm on the button with ace-8 suited. I don't like to 3-bet all of my suited aces here, and this is one of the ones I tend to avoid. Usually 3-bet everything but ace-8, ace-7, ace-6. It's pretty close, though. You could do it if you wanted. Just try to stick to the plan. Lower right-hand table, got a recreational player limps the cutoff. I'll isolate from the button with something like my cutoff open range, about 28%, including queen-jack offsuit. Lower left-hand table, going to open ace-5 suited from middle position using the 21% range. Taking their sweet time on the lower left-hand table to make these tough pre-flop decisions. Eventually my open raise gets through. Games look pretty decent this morning. Recreational players on every table. In some cases, several recreational players. Although that one just busted. So we're going to have to get this table out of there and find another one to play. Lower left-hand table, blind on blind with 9-7 off. So that's just outside of standard open range for me, but it's close. You could open it if you wanted to, or open it if you thought the big blind was too passive or too tight. Get a 2.5x open from middle position on the lower left-hand table. I'll defend my big blind for a call with King 4 suited and check range on the flop. 9-9-7 two-tone flop with me having the flush draw. I'm going to go ahead and continue. I think I can just check call this combo. Check raising wouldn't be too bad either, though. Checks all the way through on the turn. Now I'm trying to decide if I want to play this into the lead, the check call, or the check raise line. I'm really not sure. I think I probably just want to. Oh no. I think I just want to go ahead and lead it. Recreational player limps under the gun, or middle position, lower left-hand table. I'll isolate from the button with something like my cutoff open range, about 28%, including ace-10 suited. For left-hand table, open ace-8 from the button using a 44% range. This small blind player re-raises my isolation raise, but a very small size, pops it from 2250 to 60. I was planning to come along with a ton of hands against that. However, then against this cold 4-bet over here, I think I just got to go ahead and play jam or fold, and ace-10 suited is very clearly a fold. Interesting spot, interesting table. Upper right-hand table will open ace-king suited from the cutoff using the 28% range. Lower left-hand table will open ace-jack from middle position using a 21% range. Now my cutoff open on the upper right-hand table got 3-bet by the in-position player. I'm going to go ahead and 4-bet and call off fairly aggressively here in this loose formation. Probably jacks plus, maybe even tens plus. And I think we do tens. Well, let's see. This guy hasn't re-raised yet, so I think we'll use a tens plus ace-king range to 4-bet and call off with. Use ace-queen offsuit and one of the wheel aces as the 4-bet bluff. Probably ace-5 suited. Let tens and ace-4 suited drop out because this guy hasn't been too wacky or out of line as of yet. First 3-bet and 13 opportunities. Ace-king suited we're, of course, going to just be going with. Get into king-jack-9 two-tone board. I have kings and jacks here. I think I should probably just try to sort of, if I should range bet or range check that board. I think I probably just range bet it. I do have kings, I do have jacks, I do have ace-king, I do have aces. He shouldn't really have ace-king. Kings. I guess he could have jacks, but so could I. I guess he might have more nines than me, but not worried about it. Upper left-hand table, 3x open blind on blind. I'll defend with my ace-8. Let's see here. Ace shows up on the turn. I think I just want to stick this all in here. I don't want to give a hand like pocket queens or pocket tens a chance to peel for free. I think you can have some weaker ace-x that floated. He's got jacks or nines, so be it. It's hard to find hands that want to be bluffed in that particular line, though. I'm afraid is the only issue with jamming that turn. I get a limp from the rec player on the lower left-hand table, isolation range, a large ISO range to 30. I'm going to go ahead and pop that up to 130 with my ace-king. Probably doing this to stack off with jacks plus ace-king, maybe about a 60-40 ratio of value bets to bluffs. So I can really be doing this with nines plus suited broadways and ace-queen. Get an ace-6-3 two-tone board. Going to go ahead and put in a small range bet. Mostly checking the turns with that king of club in my hand there, protecting me from flush draws. Give him a chance to float and bluff me. Going to open ace-queen from the button in the lower left-hand table using a 44% range. Upper right-hand table, recreational player limits the cutoff, small blind completes. I'll check in the big blind with 10-8 offsuit. I do have a pair here, but when getting let into with a bottom pair on a reasonably or very coordinated board up there, and I don't have any kind of real equity to bail me out aside from turning two pairs or trips that still might not be good. I think I can just go ahead and err on the side of caution and fold that one instead. Hand like 10 jack, ace 10, if I somehow didn't raise ace 10 pre-flop against the limpers kind of thing, those could call. But I just don't have cards that make nice strong hands for me. I'm drawing the second and third best hands there with anything I might hit, so I think it's time to get out of the way early as opposed to later, especially multi-way. And then the rec comes over the top there with a nice big raise and picks that pot up. Get a 3x open on the upper left-hand table from the cutoff. Got 4-3 suited. That's right on the cusp. I can defend that for a call. Check range on the flop. He goes ahead and checks back the flop. I'm going to go ahead and lead the turn small with my bottom pair. Mostly following through on the river. Lower right-hand table, cutoff recreational player limps. I will isolate from the button with pocket fours using something like my cutoff open range, about 28%. He comes along for a call. We get a queen 9-8 monotone board, of which I have no piece of, including even a 4-card flush draw. He checks. I'll go ahead and put in a small range bet here on this flop. Quickly calls. Turn is the gin card for me. The 4 that does not put a 4 flush out there. Best card I could hope for, though my hand still isn't particularly nutted. On this particular texture with these flush possible boards, I'm going to use the half pot size as opposed to the overbet. And I take it down with the second barrel. Lower upper right-hand table, got a 3x open, blind on blind. I've got 9 deuce suited, which is one of my combos I like to put into my 3-betting range, as I have a smattering of random suited cards in that 3-bet range, as well as some of the more logical candidates. So I'll go ahead and put in my 3-bet. I was going to leave the upper left-hand table at a player sitting on 30 blinds bought in, so I will come back. Still got a rec at the lower left-hand table, got direct position on the rec at the lower right-hand table. Upper right-hand table had a recreational player who's currently sitting out, but he seemed like a pretty good one to be playing with, so I'm going to stick around at that one for another orbit or two and see if he sits back in. He does not. So if he's going to leave, I think I'll leave too. Maybe I'll find him at his next table. New table popped up with what appears to be some recreational players here in the seats immediately preceding me, so that table looks potentially very promising. Lower right-hand table will raise from the button against the limper, isolating him with something like my cutoff raise first in range, about 28%. Get a limp and then an isolation from a player playing fairly short. I think I'm just going to pop this up and try to get the money in against him with pocket nines. Lower right-hand table will continuation betting through that limp call on the 10-5 deuce two-tone board. I do have the nut flush draw. He clicks back. I don't love that at this point here now. That said, I really can't fold, given how much money I already put in pre-flop. I'd like it better if he just jammed. Ran into queens, which happens. I'm going to go ahead and continue barreling on the lower right-hand table. I missed it. I timed out and missed it too slow. Now that said here, when he checks again on the river, I'm going to go ahead and turn my ace high into a bluff, try to fold him off some kind of middling pair. Upper left-hand table, I'll open ace-queen from middle position using a 21% range. Get a, looks like a min-raise from this short-stacked fishy player on the button. I'll just go ahead and defend that for a call and plan to get it in if I can make top pair. Goes ahead and bets 15 to 45. I will go ahead and check call that once. Possibly take this pot away on the river if he checks back the turn. Lower left-hand table, open queen 9 suited from middle position using a 21% range. He checks back. Make top pair on the river. Got about a pot-sized bet left. Just going to go ahead and stick it in. Haven't hit my ace. In a hand like pocket jacks, he's going to be compelled to call at some portion of the time. Oh, he folded his eights. My queen 9 gets called in position, and by a fishy player in the small blind. The big blind squeezes. Just go ahead and make a very trivial fold with that particular hand. Get a 3x open from the button in the upper left-hand table and go ahead and defend my big blind for a call with ace-10. Check range on the flop. We flop the nuts with the queen-jack, king-queen-jack rainbow board. He goes ahead and puts in a continuation bet about 2/3. I've got the nuts, so I will be check raising. And he instantly folds, unfortunately, but that's okay. Lower upper right-hand table, rather, we get a limp under the gun, small blind completes, or limp from middle position, small blind completes. So I'll check in my big blind with 10-9. Go ahead and give this guy a recreational player tag as well in response to his limping. Get led into for pot, just over pot by the short-stacked recreational player small blind. I've got no equity. I will fold. Get a 2.5x open from under the gun. I'm in the big blind with ace-king offsuit. I will be 3-betting that. 3-betting pretty tight in this formation, 5.5%, 6%, something like that. Ace-king offsuit, of course, going to be one of the most obvious 3-bet hands, no matter how tight the formation may be. 3-bet something like jacks plus ace-king, ace-queen, ace-jack, suited versions of king-queen, king-jack, king-10, queen-jack, Queen 10, Jack 10, and maybe Ace 5 suited, something kind of like that. A tight linear range focused on big pairs, you know, and Ace King, big suited Broadway cards. Get the cutoff in the upper left-hand table. I'll open King-Jack offsuit, using about a 28% range. Big blind calls, then checks on the flop. I'm going to go ahead and range bet small on the King 3 Deuce rainbow board. Upper right-hand table, I'll open Jack 7 suited from the cutoff using a 28% range. In the upper left-hand table, an ace peels on the turn. I'm going to be playing overbet or check in this particular spot, and now I have second pair, so I'm going to go ahead and just check back my king-jack. Could be overbetting some 4x or 5x type hands, or as well as some of my, Jack 10, Queen Jack, Queen 10, Broadway gut shot type hands. Second pair here, I think, is a good hand to check back. River is a 4, putting a 4 straight out there, along with that ace high. I don't know. I love to try to get thin value, but trying to get value with this just seems like I'm taking it too far. I think I'll just take my free showdown here. Hand like King 8's the kind of hand that I can get value from with my King Jack on some particular boards and runouts. Maybe I can still get called down by that one if he's suspicious and bluff catches a lot in that line. But I'm just not sure how many times I get called by weaker kings that I dominate or some kind of middle pocket pair that didn't 3-bet pre-flop. Lower left-hand table will open King 6 suited for middle position using a 21% range. I think we'll shuffle this table out. It doesn't look all that promising any longer. Same with the upper left-hand table. Got a 3x open from a player I've got rec tagged if we're playing short stacked over here on the upper right-hand table. I will defend for a call from my big blind with King Jack, check range on the flop. He goes ahead and bets about 75%, and I'll just check fold my overcards. Lower right-hand table will open King 8 from the button using a 44% range. Get an 8-5 deuce monotone flop. I'll go ahead and range bet small. I do have top pair with a strong kicker, but don't have any clubs to bail me out. Against the check raise, I think I'll just go ahead and fold this. I do think that check raising those monotone flops may not be something that a solver does a lot in theory, but I do think it works pretty well against the player pool. Recreational player limps middle position. I will isolate from the cutoff with something like my middle position open range on the lower right-hand table, including pocket fives, about 21% range. Called by the big blind, the limper folds. Got a king 10-3 two-tone board. I will go ahead and range bet small. Upper right-hand table, I'll open Jack 10 from the cutoff using a 28% range. Jack 8 suited a little loose to open normally, but I've got a recreational player in the big blind that's playing 80% of hands. I'm going to try to sneak in there. This table hasn't been 3-betting hyper aggressively either, so I think it's okay to try to get away with some loose opens to try to target this fish. And it feels like every time I do that, they catch on to me and squeeze me out of the pot. I'll go ahead and fold. Upper right-hand table will open ace-10 suited from the button using a 44% range. Big blind comes along, get an ace-6-4 rainbow board. We'll go ahead and put in a small range bet. Be overbetting a lot of turn cards as well. Upper right-hand table, the recreational player limps. I check in my big blind on the and then check range on the flop on the 9-6-5 two-tone board. Flop checks through. Now there's a 4 straight out there on that 7. I am just going to probe at that turn small with my weak pair. I get raised. I'll just dump it. Upper right-hand table, open king-queen from middle position using a 21% range. Lower right-hand table, recreational player limps the small blind. I'll check my big blind in with 8-5, isolating pretty aggressively. Well, not really isolating, but raising pretty aggressively against that limp, 40-some%, something like my button open range, but not as weak as 8-5. He blasts into me for pot on the flop on the 10-5 rainbow. I will go ahead and call with my second pair. Upper right-hand table, we get 2 callers from the blinds. I will go ahead and not range bet, but we'll put in a small bet with my top pair second kicker on king 7-5 two-tone board. Just the second barrel here against a guy that's been pretty passive. I think I can just go ahead and fold. And we get check raised multi-way. We know that this guy is particularly aggressive, and he's doing that with a potential fish in the pot as well. I'm not range betting there, so I don't have to defend nearly as wide. I think I'd rather be calling with hands that either are real nutty lock type hands as opposed to one pair type hands or stuff with draws or even backdoor draws. I think I'm actually going to fold earlier as opposed to later with this one and fold here on the flop. I don't know if guys are doing that particularly aggressively multi-way or not. It's hard to say. I think I can err on the side of caution and live to fight another day, though. Lower right-hand table, recreational player limps the button. I will complete the small blind with ace-deuce suited. Big blind checks. I will check range on the flop, 10-8-3 two-tone. I do have the nut flush draw. It checks through, so I'm going to start jabbing at that turn small. Use a 1/3 size min bet here on this multi-way pot. Big blind calls. I river the nuts. I think I'm actually going to go ahead and try to get a check raise in here. Doesn't work. They all check through. Figure if somebody finds a way in there with that 7, I'm just never gonna have it check through. They might also stab and bluff with the jack at some point. I don't know. Could also lead that as well. Dealer had 5-3 offsuit. The big blind. Big blind had the jack, so jack 4. He had no pairs, so I'm surprised he didn't turn that hand into a bluff. Probably not getting called very much of anything. Maybe if I bet real small, I might get called by the 3 or something. Recreational player limps small blind completes. I'll check in my big blind with ace-3 of clubs, and I will check range on the flop, assuming it checks to me. It does on this 5-4-3 two-tone board. Flop checks through. I'm going to go ahead and jab at this pot small after it checked around on the flop, mostly following through on the river as a bluff. think I'm just going to have to go ahead and try to bluff and bluff small multi-way here. The overcard could scare away some stuff. It could be some random 6x or like pair plus straight draw type hands I can fold. I doubt the Jack X goes anywhere. It doesn't work, but I don't mind the effort. Lower right-hand table, recreational player limps small blind. I will go ahead and raise him up with something like my button open range, about 44%, including ace-9 suited. Now he limp re-raises me. Interesting. I think I need to be very tight against this player who's played 81-3 and is now limp re-raising. So I'm going to go ahead and make a snug fold pre-flop. Upper left-hand table, a short stack player opens from the cutoff. I defend the big blind for a call with ace-2 suited. I check range on the flop, and he half pots the ace-6-4 two-tone board, at which point I will check call and continue checking on the turn. I don't think there's too much merit in trying to get called by a worse pair. I think I will just check and see if he decides to maybe make some kind of airball bluff that I can pick off with my weak ace. He doesn't, but I just don't know there's any more merit in trying to value bet my ace no kicker. He had queen jack offsuit, so yeah, giving him a chance to bluff with that particular combo, and of which I think he has a lot of those kind of combos. I just don't see any real value in betting for value there with ace deuce. If he's good enough to check back a decent number of ace X, I'm just going to be betting into aces that I chop with or have me out kicked. Lower right-hand table will open 10-8 from the button using a 44% range. Right around the bottom of my button open range here. I get 3-bet, and since I'm at the bottom of my open range, I'm just going to go ahead and fold even against that smaller sizing. Continue more against that very small sizing, but continuing more with hands like suited connectors, pocket pairs, suited Broadway cards. Off-suited trouble hands are going to still be mostly in the fold range. Get a recreational player limps under the gun, lower right-hand table. I will isolate from middle position with Queen Jack suited using something like my under the gun open range, about 18%. Get 3-bet by the in-position player. I'm just going to be very tight against these in-position 3-bets. I will go ahead and fold. It's a shame, really looking to get into a heads-up pot with a nice hand like Queen Jack suited, where I've isolated the recreational player. But cutoff player had other designs on what was going to happen that hand. Player pool not as juicy now as it looked earlier. You have recreational players. Well, this one's kind of borderline. He's not completely terrible. I do have this one rec I've got good seat on. Other player playing short stacked right here. But beyond that, no even suspected recreational players that I see. Having trouble getting that fourth table up as well. There we go. Direct position on the suspected rec here with the short stack. Got a 2.5x open from the cutoff on the lower left-hand table. I'm going to go ahead and defend for a call out of my big blind with Queen Jack. Check range on the flop. And he range bets small. This is a good candidate for a check raise bluff, blocking some of the most likely 10x trip combos. And also, given me that I have the pivot, I can actually continue barreling on cards like the 9 or the king. Recreational player limps upper right-hand table. Going to go ahead and isolate out of the small blind. Well, I guess not really an isolation. There's no one else in there. I'm going to raise up out of the small blind with pocket jacks. My check raise got called in the lower left-hand table, so I'm just going to go ahead and check the turn. Upper right-hand table, going to go ahead and put in a range bet now that he limp calls on the 9-9 deuce two-tone board. My check raise got floated and bet small. I think he's outplaying me, but more power to him. I'm just going to have to check fold my queen high. Upper left-hand table, get a 3x open, blind down blind. King 7 off, not quite good enough to defend for a call, but it can be in my 3-bet bluff range, as I've got a few of the offsuit combos not quite good enough for a call in there. My range bet got raised minimum. I'm going to go ahead and call that and check on the turn to this recreational player. Now that he's blasting large, I'm going to give him a bit more credit, and I'm going to go ahead and get out of the way. Let's see. Queen 10 slightly looser to isolate here on the lower right-hand table. You could do open. I'm going to opt not to. It's pretty close. It would be non-standard to isolate that for me. Upper left-hand table can go ahead and range bet small on that 9-8-3 two-tone board. Upper right-hand table, blind on blind. I will open pocket queens using the 45% range. The rec player quickly calls. I will check range to him on the flop. He checks back. Turn is the jack. I'm going to go ahead and lead out small. Upper left-hand table, a 5 peeled, giving me a gut shot. I don't want to bet all my gut shots. I'd prioritize the ones with a spade blocker here. Since I don't have that, I'll check this one back. Upper right-hand table, going to go ahead and try to value bet the river there with my overpair. He goes ahead and he puts in a pretty healthy bet. Looks like he bets about 75%. I can go ahead and actually bluff raise that particular spot, I do believe. Yeah, I can bluff raise here. Probably not very credible given that board texture and the line that I took, but I think it's going to be better than folding ever so slightly. I suppose I could check back some hands like aces or maybe even sets of nines on that turn as well. I got another one through. Lower left-hand table, we'll open 10 jack suited from the middle position using a 21% range. Get called in position, and then by looks like recreational players all around. Now the rec player leads into me for 25 into 38. I've got top pair. It's just going to go ahead and call that. Upper left-hand table will open ace-7 from the button using the 44% range. The in-position player folds out, so now we have about a, let's see, he's got, when the hand starts, he's got a 76, 106. He's got 111, 80, 87 in the pot, 111 behind him to start. He bets 35 into 87. I think I just want to go ahead and raise this up and get my top pair in here, force this guy to show me a better hand. And got him in against a pair plus open that did straight flush draw. So it wasn't like he was weak or anything, but I just don't know that I love his bet size and or line choice. But the fact that he was putting money in with that hand is certainly fine. Lower left-hand table, recreational player limps. Looks like from middle position. I'm going to isolate up out of the small blind with 10-9 suited towards the bottom of my ISO range, but still a reasonable hand to do it with. Isolating about 12% or so here. He limp calls. I'm going to go ahead and I think I'm going to range check this particular board. I just don't really have any piece of that except for the overpairs, which I can always check raise with. I have a ton of just overcards that whiffed. I'll just check fold my 10 high. Lower right-hand table will open ace-9 suited under the gun using an 18% range. Recreational player comes along from the big blind and checks to me, so I will range bet him on the king-king-8 two-tone board. I do have a backdoor club draw here. Check calls. Turn is an offsuit 3. I think I want to play overbet or check. Can overbet my 8's full, my 3's full, most of my trip kings, and I guess various heart draws. Beyond that, not too much else. If I want a few more bluffs, I can pick hands like Queen Jack, Queen 10, Jack 10, stuff with removal to King X type hands. It doesn't really have showdown value itself. Probably prioritizing those particular ones that do have a heart in them for a heart blocker. River is another king putting trips on the board. I've got a bit of showdown value with my ace high here. I've got far worse hands to bluff with that just couldn't barrel the turn. I think I'll just take my showdown here. Yeah, pocket deuces. I also don't know that I fold even a hand like pocket deuces or, a hand like ace queen that he may still have that beats me on that particular texture. Just don't think there's a whole lot of efficiency or effectiveness by turning ace-9 into a bluff against a fish on that tripped up board when I've got so much showdown value as well. Now, if I've got a jack high type hand, a 10 high type hand, of course I'm going to bluff that because that just really can't win pretty much ever. But ace high can win a decent bit there at that, so I'll just take my showdown rather than try to get some hands that are just a little bit better than that to fold. Lower left-hand table, middle position, I will open Queen 10 suited using a 21% range. Lower left-hand table, blind on blind, a short stack, likely recreational player limps. I will check in with 6 deuce suited. He checks to me on the 7-4 deuce rainbow. I'll go ahead and stab for the minimum with my weak pair. Turn is an 8. Potential straights out there. I do have a gut shot to it with the 6. I think I want to bet some gut shots and check others. A gut shot with a smidge of showdown value to that deuce is probably a good combo to check back. which is what I will do. Bink the gut shot. Now he overbets there, which is a little bit troubling as the backdoor flush draw got in. So there's probably no point in raising this very obvious straight when flush is beat up, but I really don't see how I can consider folding that. He shows up with pocket kings, which is a silly way to play pocket kings, if you ask me. You know, limping pre-flop, check calling the flop, and then overbetting on the river, some kind of thin merge, apparently, when there's a 4 straight and a backdoor flush out there. But that's what he chose to do, which is why I also can't consider folding, going, oh, he overbet and I've got a straight. Still got to call it down, and that's why. Lower right-hand table, recreational player limps under the gun. I will isolate him from middle position. Slightly loose ISO here with Queen Jack, but I'm trying to get in pots with this, apparently pretty big whale playing 80% of his hands. So Queen Jack kind of on the cusp of an under the gun open or middle position ISO against an under the gun limp, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. Potential cold 4-bet spot over here on the upper left-hand table. I think I want a cold 4-bet queens plus ace king to stack off. I want to have about a 60 to 40 ratio of bluffs to value bets. So I can put a hand like ace queen offsuit into that cold 4-bet bluff range. Initial raiser folds out against the re-raiser right now, who's the guy I was particularly concerned with. That's something like 10s plus, ace queen plus, suited combos of ace 10 plus, king 10 plus, queen jack. Something like that's a pretty decent cold 4-bet range here. Looking to get it in with queens plus ace king. Selecting my hands that are, quote unquote bluffs, 4-bet bluffs in that spot is hands that either have good removal to continue ranges, or hands that will play well post flop. So basically looking for big cards and suited cards, big suited cards, and to some extent some unsuited cards like ace queen. Upper left hand table will open ace jack from the blind on blind scenario using the 45% range. Recreational player min raises. The button goes ahead and re-raises him. I think I need to go ahead and cold 4-bet this. I don't know that I really want to stack off, though, a little bit deeper here when this guy's probably not going to have as many pre-flop bluffs in his range against a loose passive fish. So I think this is actually going to be something of a pre-flop cold 4-bet bluff. Would still be stacking off with kings, aces, ace king suited as well. Probably use a range something like kings, aces, ace king suited to stack off with, and then the other hands that are also raising are going to be something like ace king offsuit, queens, jacks, and then suited combos of ace queen, ace jack, king queen, king jack. Suck to have to fold queens if he jams back over the top of me right there, and I know it seems nitty, but I just don't think the guys are expecting me to have enough cold 4-bet bluffs there, or at least maybe not me specifically, but the pool as a whole to have enough cold 4-bet bluffs there to justify playing back aggressively. Probably not jamming over the top of a cold 4-bet, a little bit deeper than typical. I think we were about 650 bucks deep there to start that hand. So you're probably not going to see a whole lot of jacks and tens, even if he's always jamming jacks, say jacks plus ace king. I don't know that queens is all that great a call for that price. So it sounds a bit crazy to be cold 4-bet and folding queens, but that was my plan there if he were to play back at me. Lower left-hand table will open deuces from the cutoff using a 28% range. Get called by the recreational player in the small blind. Now, let's see here. This is another cold 4-bet combo, even though I'm going to be pretty tight in this particular spot and probably just be doing kings, aces, ace, king suited. I've still got to have some cold 4-bet bluffs in there. He didn't see me do this an orbit or two ago, so he may not be as onto my antics. Hit pay dirt right there. Although, who am I kidding? Because we're not that deep. I can have stack off with kings, with ace, king, and queens pre-flop there. So I'm going to go ahead and put in the small range bet here, having flop top 2 on the king, queen, 7 board. If he trapped with aces there, which I think would be a good play, I actually would have screwed him here by outdrawing. Look at this disaster down here. Raise, cutoff calls, button squeezes, small blind cold 4-bets. I've got queen jack, a fairly weak hand to begin with here in that formation, so I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of it. But curious to see what these silly players are up to right here. This guy not necessarily silly, but these two are sillies for sure. King 10, a little loose to open. Keep it in line. Now it seems like a good time to wrap the session up anyway. I'm supposed to be on a Zoom meeting in a few minutes as it is, and one of my tables broke. I think we'll go ahead, and my blinds are about to hit all the way around here. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap the session up. Other than getting stacked by that set in the 3-bet pot, it was a fun session for me. So I hope you enjoyed watching, as I certainly enjoyed making the video for you. It looks like I'm not going to be dealt in the other hands here as the big blind's about to hit me on all 3 remaining tables. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it now. Until next time, this is Charlie Murphy signing off.